She stepped off the bus with nothing but a duffel bag, a quiet smile, and eyes that carried the kind of calm you only see in someone who survives storms no one talks about. No one on the naval base knew who she was. Not yet. They just saw a new girl, a transfer, a nobody. But in less than 12 hours, some of them would regret ever crossing her, because the woman they tried to take down was the highest-ranking officer on the entire installation, and she had come undercover. Before the story begins, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. These stories are inspired by real events, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Her name was Elena Rourke. Most people only knew the legend, a decorated admiral who had led 3 rescue operations that the public still didn't know the full truth about. But Elena wasn't the type to walk around demanding salutes and attention. She preferred to see the world unfiltered, what people were like when they didn't think anyone important was watching. And recently she'd been hearing rumors, bullying on the lower decks, hazing disguised as tradition, good sailors quitting unexpectedly. Something was rotting inside her base, and she wasn't going to inspect it from a polished office. She wanted to feel it with her own hands. The first sign of trouble came before she even cleared the gate. 3 petty officers, leaning against a jeep, snickered as she passed. Not because of anything she did, but because they could smell vulnerability, or so they thought. One of them, Torres, stepped in front of her, blocking her path. He smirked down at her like he was playing playground king. "You lost, sweetheart?" Elena paused. She lifted her gaze, unreadable. "No, just arrived." Torres glanced at the others, amused. "Then let me give you a warm welcome. New girls get orientation." She walked past him without a flicker of fear. That was her first quiet warning. They didn't take it. Her assigned barracks room looked like someone had already decided she wasn't welcome. Sheets torn off the bed, mattress flipped, a bucket of water dumped on the floor, and on her pillow, a crudely scribbled note, "Go home." Elena exhaled, calm as still water. She set her duffel down, knelt, and began cleaning. Rank didn't exempt you from work, and she didn't want revenge, not yet. She wanted truth. It didn't take long to collect it. Over the next few hours, she kept her cover as a low-ranking transfer and quietly watched everything. The conversations that stopped when she approached, the smirks, the whispers, and then the moment that shifted everything, the cafeteria incident. Elena was carrying her tray, heading toward an empty table when Torres and his crew crossed her path again. This time they didn't settle for words. One of them accidentally slammed his shoulder into her, knocking her tray to the floor with a crash that silenced half the room. "Oops," Torres laughed, clumsy. All eyes were on her now, some pitying, some entertained, many pretending not to notice. Elena slowly bent down, picked up the tray and placed it on the counter. Her expression felt like winter. She looked Torres square in the eyes and said, "Enjoy this moment." He laughed, but something in her stare made his amusement flicker. The real turning point came later that night. The base's senior officers had been ordered to gather in the main hall at 1900 hours sharp. Rumors shot through the ranks like sparks. Something big was happening. Torres and his group strutted in late, still joking, still assuming the world bent around their arrogance. Elena stood at the front of the room, back straight, hands behind her. Her uniform looked different now, impeccable, decorated, unmistakably Admiral's attire. When Torres walked in, the color drained from his face. The room snapped to attention. "Admiral on deck." The sound echoed off the steel walls. Elena stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice carried the quiet force of someone who didn't need to shout to be heard. "Good evening," she began. "Today, I walked this base as a new transfer, and I saw exactly what I needed to see." Murmurs rippled. Guilt, fear, curiosity. I witnessed sailors dishonor their uniform. I saw harassment, intimidation, a culture that should have been rooted out years ago. If this is how you treat someone you think is defenseless, you're not just weak, you're dangerous. Her eyes moved directly to Torres. And you. We'll start with you. The entire hall turned toward him. He stood frozen, pale, trembling under the weight of his own stupidity. You compromised the integrity of this base, she said. You failed your crew, your oath, and your country. Effective immediately, you are relieved of duty pending further disciplinary action. He opened his mouth to speak, but she cut him off with a look that felt like it could strip paint off a battleship. Dismissed. The guards escorted him out, and the room fell silent as snowfall. Elena continued. This base will not run on fear. It will run on discipline, honor, and respect. Starting tonight, things change, and they change fast. What happened afterward became its own quiet legend. The sailors who had silently suffered finally felt seen. Those who had witnessed the bullying without speaking up found the courage to step forward. Elena didn't punish everyone. She rebuilt them. She wasn't just a commander. She was a force of gravity. People moved differently around her. Straighter, stronger, proud. By the end of the week, the base felt transformed. Sailors who had once avoided eye contact now trained harder, talked openly, stood taller. Elena didn't stay undercover anymore. She walked among them as their admiral, but also as one of them. And the ones who tried to take her down? They became a lesson whispered to every new arrival. Respect everyone. You never know who you're dealing with. On her last night of undercover duty, she stood alone on the pier, watching the sun sink behind the water that glowed like molten gold. She wasn't smiling exactly, but there was a peace in her face. A job done. A culture saved. A warning delivered. She whispered to herself, sometimes you have to step into the shadows to fix what's hidden there. And with that, she walked away, her boots echoing softly against the steel deck. Quiet, powerful, unforgettable. If you made it this far, I'd love to know from which part of the country are you watching this video.